The Ridgid R4516 comes nicely packaged from Home Depot. Available only via their online store, my unit was quickly shipped for $249 total. Once we open the box, we find a set of surprisingly necessary assembly instructions. The saw itself is packaged pretty tightly, so I have to hold down the box with one foot and lift it out. After removing the saw, the first accessory we find is the blade height knob. This has to be installed manually on the raise and lower wheel. Next out of the box is a pretty straightforward push stick, definitely nothing exceptional here. The main accessory pack contains the anti-kickback paws that are attached to the riving knife with a very convenient toolless lever. The miter slide provided by Ridgid is one of the best I've ever seen on a sub $500 saw. In my opinion, it's the best built item on the entire unit. The included fence is well built, but it's old school style in the fact that you have to manually slide and then clamp. I much prefer the newer rack and pinion setup that DeWalt and Hitachis use. Yeah, you know what, but this works just fine. The blade guard is heavy duty, but seems oversized. I know the point is to keep people's hands away from the blade, but you would think they could come up with a design that doesn't totally block your view. One great feature unique to this saw is the built-in sliding handle in the wheels. It really makes moving around the saw effortless. However, it is disappointing Ridgid decided to attach the wheel axles to the plastic portion of the body instead of the metal frame. It gives the wheels a fragile feel. Everything up front's pretty standard. Out back is a 2.5-inch dust port. Unfortunately, the dust chute doesn't extend all the way to the bottom of the table. Getting the saw up on the bench, we find a relatively cheap feeling cord storage bracket above the wheels. I really get the impression that you would break them if you wrap the cord too tightly. Extra caution here is definitely a must. The front again is pretty self-explanatory with the blade height wheel and locking lever situated next to the power switch with a lockout key. The right side of the unit contains storage for the miter gauge and the push stick. Out back again we see a 2.5-inch dust port and the direct drive motor. It would have been really nice if soft start were more standard on this class of saw. Taking a close-up look at the rip fence, we can see that it's well built and locks very securely against the rails. It would have been really nice if Ridgid used a higher quality ruler here though. What we have appears to be just a cheap sticker affixed to the front. On many competing units, and even on Ridgid's own miter saws, we get nice metal rulers with anodized markings. Stickers are usually found on Harbor Freight and Ryobi tools. To get a good look at the blade, the included guard does nicely snap out of place out of the way. Below the cord storage, we find a nut and a peg for the blade changing wrenches. Unfortunately, the nut is 100% plastic. It would have been nice to see at least the threads be made out of metal. Good thing I don't change the blades all that often. The extension table release lever is positioned flush with the table. I quite like this design over some other models with a side lever. Back down on the right, the miter gauge and push stick are stored with well thought out brackets. Unlike cord storage, these don't feel cheap. Overall, out of the box alignment was excellent. The blade was square to the miter slots, and both the fence and the blade were square to the table. Aside from a couple cheap feeling components, it's a well thought out saw that I generally do like. There is, however, one major flaw. It might just be my copy, but the measuring tape used when the table is extended is off about a 1/16 of an inch. It's really annoying and seems sloppy on Ridgid's part. Almost poetically, everything on this saw is adjustable except this portion of the measuring tape. As you can see here, a 23-inch cut is really only 22 15/16. Seriously, get it together, Ridgid. Overall, I would recommend this saw at $249. While it does seem to be a bit lower quality than comparable units from DeWalt and Bosch, it's also about $50 or $100 cheaper. Add to this, you get Ridgid's lifetime service agreement, and this saw does offer a great value proposition if you're willing to live with a couple of its shortcomings.